Hi everybody, this is Joshua Kirk back with you guys once again on YouTube. And now it's time for, I believe this is probably episode 36 of Album of the Day. And, I'm just gonna, get right to it for this review. Because I'm going to be on a podcast later today. Another episode of the Circus Life podcast hosted by Justin Trawick. So I'm going to be on that podcast later. But aside from that, we're just going to get right to this review. So today's artist is an artist that's basically is the stage name for singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist and guitar extraordinaire Annie Clark. The project is known as St. Vincent. Her real name is Annie Clark, but everybody knows her as St. Vincent. So I'm here to review her fourth album that's just St. Vincent, and her fifth album pretty much overall, because she did an album in 2012 with David Byrne. And I think David Byrne is like of the Talking Heads or something like that. But anyway, I'm here to review the fifth St. Vincent album, released sometime in February 2014. I don't know exactly the release date, but anyway, the album is called St. Vincent 2, so this is self-titled. And this is released on a major label, pretty much St. Vincent's first time being released on a major label. Being released on, Republic Records, which is like a Universal label. And Loma Vista, a recording company. So this is her first release that's like not on a small label like 4AD, and is on a major label. And I know major labels are the kind of labels that kind of leave people kind of skeptical a little bit. But honestly, I don't think the major labels really hurt anything at all. So there you go. Anyway, there's the cover. There's St. Vincent right there. Other spine in the back. And the songs on here are Rattlesnake, Birth in Reverse, Prince Johnny, Huey Newton, Digital Witness, just turning it upside down so I can see the track names. I Prefer Your Love, Regret, Bring Me Your Loves, Psychopath, Every Tear Disappears, and Severed Crossed Fingers. Anyway, I'm going to show you the inside of this album. More artwork right there, not much to it, but there's another photo of St. Vincent right there. And there is a booklet in here. Like, the packaging may be a little weird for some people, but... And yes, the packaging may be a little weird, but, it's not weird enough to bother me at all, so... that's the case. There's a booklet in here, and it has the liner notes and the lyrics, as well as who played what on each song, which are like the musicians who played what instruments. And then there's the thank yous and all that stuff. I gotta show you the CD in here. Which, there's not much to the disc. Just shows you the album title and the logos for the record labels that this album was released on. So that's the packaging for the self-titled St. Vincent record that came out earlier this year, in February sometime. I'm not totally sure about the release date, but that's not important at all. But anyway, let's talk about the tracks on here. So the first track on here is called Rattlesnake, and let me say, this is a pretty cool way to open the album. To open with something upbeat like this. It starts out with this cool little, synthesizer riff, that's got kind of this bassy tone to it. And then coming in, there's St. Vincent's voice, and after that, it comes in with more synthesizers, some guitars, as well as some drums that sound like they're being played through like a sewer or something like that, or a can of tuna or something like that. The lyrics are kind of catchy. The lyrics aren't really something that are really important, but at the same time, the lyrics do seem kind of important because, St. Vincent tends to write really dark lyrics to go with, kind of his upbeat, kind of go-lucky melodies, sort of. So this is a kind of song that kind of, gives you a clue of what the album's going to sound like. And the reason why Rattlesnake, I think, is just one of the best songs on this album is because it just kind of hooks you into the whole thing, just gives you curiosity about what the rest of the album is going to sound like. And then at the end, it gets this really distorted, fuzzy guitar solo that just sounds awesome from St. Vincent. Track number 2 is called Birth in Reverse, and it's kind of a song about how people, including me, kind of experience, ordinary days of like taking out the garbage and all that stuff. And this is kind of a straight up kind of, unadorned rock and roll song. It's basically just got nothing but some drums, a bassy synthesizer, which is kind of the bass line because there is no bass on the record. But the bass lines on this record come from like a mini Moog, like a synthesizer. But it's just a simple, groove of just really distorted, fuzzy, like garage rock, like Black Keys-esque guitar riffs, kind of paired with, some loud drums and this synthesizer that is just in the background, just kind of playing this kind of bassy tone throughout the song. And Birth in Reverse is also a great song. It's just, great to kind of, it's really refreshing to me to just go back to the basics and go with something that isn't as, polished, because the rest of this album has kind of this polished production with all the synthesizers and all that, but this song, Birth in Reverse, kind of, is a lot rougher and kind of goes for more of the old-fashioned rock fare. Track number 3 is called Prince Johnny, and this is a song that's also kind of dark lyrically. It's a song about, like, just wanting to be a son of someone and, praying to everybody so you can become a real child, it's pretty dark and eerie and somewhat cryptic, but at the same time, it really does work, because for some reason, I'm just a guy who's kind of intrigued by just dark lyrics paired with just, very kind of dreamy melodies. Like, musically, the song is pretty dreamy with it's got this synthesizer that sounds like it's imitating a gospel choir, as well as these drums that kind of sound as if they're being sequenced or something. Something with this weird kind of psychedelic thing going on them. While the guitars aren't really a main feature of the song. They're just kind of way in the background. Sort of. So that way, the choir imitating synthesizer can kind of, lead the entire section so beautifully. And, St. Vincent's voice, is really just kind of, St. Vincent's voice is just so beautiful. Like, St. Vincent, I think, has one of the best voices out there, and I really like how experimental and different St. Vincent is. A lot of girl singers these days kind of tend to copy everyone else, but, however, St. Vincent is one of those female artists that can really just, nail it with experimentation and really get it nailed and really let her ideas out instead of just burying them deep in her mind. Track number 4 is called Huey Newton, and this song is a pretty cool song too. it's got these really kind of simple drums paired with this really just cool synthesizer. Like, the synthesizer riff on this song is just really desirable to listen to. And this song lyrically is also kind of strange. I mean, it does, it does, mention some weird little, like, wordplay, like, for example, fake knife, real ketchup, and, all that, and all those just crazy lyrics. And let me tell you, and then by, like, some point in the chorus, I hear this weird, like, piano thing in the background, I think it is. There is a piano credited in there, so I assume that's what I'm hearing, is a piano. No. And then coming in, there's just this beautiful, like, just beautifully done improvisation with just this odyssey of synthesizers that are like little fish in the sea just floating just so beautifully in there. And then after that, the song kind of changes and the guitars get a lot heavier and fuzzier and get all noisy. See, over like St. Vincent slightly kind of, over St. Vincent's voice, which sounds as if she's singing into like, which sounds as if she's singing into, sounds as if she's singing into a sewer or something like that. Sewer almost. Track number 5 is called Digital Witness, and this is one of the singles off of the album. In fact, it's pretty much the main single. In fact, St. Vincent put out a 7-inch late 2013, sometime around December, which had the songs Digital Witness and Birth in Reverse in there. Yeah, I think those are the two songs that were included on that 7-inch. And this song has really cool instrumentation. It has these drums and horns that sound as if they're being, that sounds like something I would hear in a marching band or something. And then, it gets this weird little, like, psychedelic guitar riff in the background, as well as these synthesizers that come in. And, the song is kind of about, like, sometimes that they're talking about, like, how sometimes there's really no point in even sleeping or any of that stuff, and it's basically just talking about, like, getting back to, and basically talking about getting back to your kind of bad habits, like, for example, gnashing teeth and all that stuff. Track number 6 is called I Prefer Your Love, and this one kind of sounds kind of similar to Prince Johnny, except the lyrics aren't as dark. Sure, St. Vincent in general would write pretty dark and sometimes kind of, cryptic lyrics, but sometimes she can just kind of, write songs that are kind of hopeful at the same time, and I think I Prefer Your Love is kind of an example of that. And it has once again a synthesizer that sounds like it's imitating a choir again, as well as some drums. This weird little like psychedelic, electric piano, which sounds like it's being played through a Leslie speaker or something, as well as some guitar riffs in the background too. And I think this is one of the songs where St. Vincent really succeeds on the vocals too. So beautiful to hear her voice so arranged beautifully on this song, I Prefer Your Love. Track number 7 is called Regret, and once again, this is kind of a back to basics kind of rock and roll song. The needle drop said it sounded like a Led Zeppelin song, and, listening to the song, I'm like, maybe it sounds a little bit like Led Zeppelin, but not really close, but, everybody has their own opinion. Regret is a really cool song. It's got these fuzzy guitars, like, there's these fuzzy guitar riffs that kind of lead the song. And then coming in by the chorus, it gets like some extra instruments, like there's like an acoustic guitar, some drums, and and then there's like some piano, and then there's some piano. I think I'm hearing, like, and regret is and the song kind of, and the name of this song pretty much says it all. It's pretty much a song about people doing things they're not supposed to, and then just getting so much regret over it. Track number 8 is called "Bring Me Your Loves," and this song is pretty dark musically. I mean, it's all upbeat, but the keyboards on it sound a lot more dark, and with the whiny buzzing synthesizers, as well as this other synthesizer that sounds like it's imitating a string section or something, as well as kind of these weird vocals coming from St. Vincent. It sound really kind of psychedelic and spacey, as well as these drums that kind of sound like they're kind of sequenced almost, pretty much. And I swear, I think there's like a tambourine playing over those drums too. Like, this is a good song. It's a good one to get stuck in your head. But to be honest, this song, I think, kind of got a little overboard a little bit. I think the vocals were a little overly psychedelic, and if the song it's a really fun song to groove out to. I mean, I just find myself moving my leg to it. It's so much fun to groove out to, but at the same time, it's kind of just an overwhelming, kind of messy number. But, that's just my opinion. Track number 9 is one of my favorites on the record, "Psychopath." This is a song that's kind of about, like, how we try not to kind of, get so angry, but at the same time, we can't help it. Like, this is kind of a song about how we just can't help but just get real angry and just run down the highways like a psychopath. Like, and, it's kind of a song about how even people telling you to stop worrying about things won't help you. No matter how hard you try to just, let that feeling go. And this song, and this song has like some, and this song sounds great musically with just the guitars, keyboards, and drums on here. And, lyrically it's a song that I totally connect to, because it is normal for people to kind of get all these emotions, whether they're happy, or whether they're sad, or whether they're angry. We all get those feelings. Track number 10 is called "Every Tear Disappears," and this is another song that I felt was a little underwhelming. Musically, the drums felt kind of plain. I mean, the guitar sounds nice with its distortion on there, but just the synthesizers and the drums, they just kind of fall flat on their faces, in my opinion. So, I'm not saying I hate this song. In fact, I don't think there's really any huge disappointments about this song, but just, it felt a little underwhelming for me, because, the instrumentation just didn't have the real oomph to it that it could have. And then it closes with track 11 called "Severed Crossed Fingers." And this song really does remind me of like old school Beatles with George Martin producing. It has really nice instrumentation in there. I mean, like, the synthesizers on there sound nice, and there's a harpsichord in there, and like, as well as a beautiful little harpsichord that really adds the color to the track that it would have been lacking if a harpsichord was not included in there. So yeah, I think the keyboards and the harpsichord just sound excellent on this song. And plus it has these, and plus, the guitars are kind of way in the background a little bit. And lyrically the song is, pretty dark, and lyrically it's pretty dark too, it's kind of, talking about, draining over years and just kind of, sometimes kind of figuratively kind of, finding severed crossed fingers in the little, bit of trouble you might be having, like, and the severed, and the interesting thing of this song is kind of the wordplay, like, this, like, I could swear the severed crossed fingers thing, I could swear it's probably just a metaphor, not really a literal thing, really. So lyrically, it's pretty interesting with the wordplay, and musically, it just sounds so beautiful. Production-wise, I'm pretty happy with this record. There are a couple of tracks that could have done better, I think, but, overall, I think this album is really just an excellent album. Musically, it's definitely a very creative album. I mean, a lot of girl singers today don't really have the real oomph to their music, but St. Vincent is certainly an exception. Excuse me. So I'm going to give this album an 8 out of 10. If you're into really experimental, like keyboard-driven music, this is probably the record you should probably consider checking out. Like, if you're into really experimental artists like Beck, or Radiohead, or, people like that, well then, St. Vincent would probably be a good artist and a good album for you to check out, because, St. Vincent's also the name of the album because it is self-titled. So yeah, I give St. Vincent's brand new self-titled album an 8 out of 10. So that's it for this review. I'd love to hear what you guys think of the album in the description. I'll see you for episode 37.